And welcome back to Beat the Book. Playing around with my microphone here because somebody loosened it. Somebody loosened it over the weekend, so I have to fight somebody. But regardless, we've got a show for you today that's going to be absolutely loaded to the gills with all kinds of Arizona-based sports. We're going to be talking Cardinals. We're going to be talking Sun Devils. We're going to be talking Suns. We're going to get to everything that happens in the Valley, basically, because we're busy. It's the time of year. It is the season. So we're going to get to that a little bit later on today. We are broadcasting live, by the way, from the Harmon Solar Studios in sunny uptown Scottsdale. Couple of days before Christmas, and you guys are on the text line 888-368-1580. We will announce the Cardinals win probability contest winner here in just a moment. But on the text line, that's how you let us know how your weekend went. How did your teams play? Did they win? Did they lose? I'll have you know both of mine won. How did things go with your bets? I don't want to talk about that. That didn't exactly go great for anything outside of college football for me. So that's how I'm doing. How are you doing? Let us know, 888-368-1580. But before we get to any and all of those things, Dylan, who powers the show?
That would be Sport Trade. And like Keon mentioned, we will be revealing the winner of the Sport Trade implied probability contest on the Arizona Cardinals game yesterday with the Carolina Panthers. So make sure you stick around for that. And of course, this coming Friday, we will have Sport Trade CEO Alex Kane back on the show to roll out the next week's implied probability contest. So if you are not the lucky winner for this week, you have another opportunity to win a $100 Amazon gift card and $50 in cash sent directly to your Sport Trade account for you to place some extra wagers with. So don't miss out on that. And Keon, you were not kidding when you said your teams had some success this weekend. I think we, as a public, got treated to what, in my opinion, is the absolute best NFL game of the season so far this year. The Commanders,
that Ravens Bengals that went to overtime was pretty fun too. But yeah, it was also Commanders Bengals was pretty. Jaden Daniels taking one in the chops, and that was a walk off as well. So there's some options.
There's definitely some options. I think why I'm so high on this one is just because I was able to turn a nice profit.
On the live line. If it also is, in addition to being entertaining, financially lucrative for you, I can't really say that you're wrong to have that as the best game of the year.
So the game we're talking about, of course, was the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles. This was the second matchup between these two divisional rivals, and it was played in Washington. And this was a game where the Eagles raced out to an early lead, and they had managed to hold a lead for most of the game. And basically, second half, Commanders go on a roll, particularly in the fourth quarter. They build some crazy momentum, and they're able to come back and win. Final score 36-33. And Keon, I said this to you before we went on the show. Honestly, I don't know how anyone else could disagree with this, but like when you watch Jaden Daniels on TV, he does not look like a rookie quarterback at all.
No, he doesn't. He looks polished, which, to be fair, like in the whole draft process, that was his greatest strength, was that he already played in a pro style offense. He's pretty smart, knows what he's doing already. Had done some things as far as watching film, a load of it, and then of course incorporating virtual reality into a lot of what his training was involved in, so that he's kind of that person that kind of feels like he learns by doing things, and the virtual reality gives you the chance to do that, even if you're just at home. Like you're still looking at formations from a first person point of view and trying to figure out, well, where should I go with the football when the defense shows me this? He already has a lot of that just under his belt, and he was the highest floor quarterback in the draft. Caleb Williams was the guy that everybody thought had the highest ceiling, but in terms of, there's a good chance this guy's going to show up, play, and not really fail. That was Jaden Daniels, and he's just living up to the hype that was given to him throughout the entire process, and it's just been fun to see. And some of these other guys in this draft class are a bit more polished than they got credit for, and Jaden's still ahead of the class.
And, if you happen to be watching this game yesterday, there were some things that happened within the game that did kind of help tip the scales in favor of the Commanders. The biggest one being Jalen Hurts ended up suffering a concussion. And I believe this happened in the first half. But what was kind of remarkable about it was he suffers the concussion, and it wasn't like, oh, okay, he's unconscious, or he's showing, signs that make it look like he has a concussion, stop the play. This was like the replay crew, that's in New York or wherever they are. They were the ones that saw it and that said, oh, he looks a little woozy. You got to pull him. Like he wanted to keep going. He did not want to go out of the game.
Well, you never do. None of these guys do, especially in a divisional game like this. The Commanders and the Eagles, there's plenty of history. They do not like each other. But also just being able to win this division just outright and sew that up would have been really nice, and have a chance to maybe kick the Commanders down and out of the postseason would have been nice for them too. I think the Eagles would have liked that. But Jalen, that's not your call to make. When it comes to a concussion, like, you can feel fine, but if your brain is squished against the side of your head, it's probably not a good idea for you to go back out there.
Well, and so I was watching this game. I honestly, I have the whole Sunday big ticket. So like I'm watching like 4 different games at once. So I've got an eye on the score, but then I kind of put 2 and 2 together of Jalen Hurts is out. He's out for the rest of the game. That knowledge became public, like basically around halftime. And it was literally a 1-score game. The Eagles were only up 7. They have Kenny Pickett in there now for the full rest of the game. And the live money line, I placed my wager on this through Fanatic Sportsbook. At the time, it was paying a little bit over plus 200. And that right there, I'm like, well, you're going to give me over 2-1. Eagles don't even have their starting quarterback. This is only a 1-score game, and it's in Washington. And these guys already had, I think the Commanders at that time had maybe 3 turnovers already to the Eagles 1. And it was still a 1-score game. So naturally, that was good enough for me. I threw some money at plus 200. And then the Eagles forced another turnover and got another score out of it. So then they were up 2 full touchdowns. And again, that turnover, count, that's 4 for the Eagles, 4 for the Commanders, 1 for the Eagles. The live line goes up to plus 500. So now you're getting 5-1 odds, still a 2-score game, plenty of time left in the third. I don't trust Kenny Pickett. I hit that again. And then, the Commanders turn it on. Kenny Pickett's not getting the job done. He's getting, completely flustered by the blitz that the Commanders are pulling off. And he's making mistakes. Commanders are forcing him to get 3 and outs. They're getting the ball back, and then they're capitalizing on those opportunities. And that led all the way to a basically game-ending drive from Jayden Daniels, where he pulls off a remarkable. I mean, first there was the 4th and
the 4th and 11 on that drive, where obviously they don't pick up the first down, ball game essentially, and Jayden kind of gets grabbed in the pocket, squeezes out of the pressure, and then makes a guy miss in the open field. That's 11 yards. He just does it all the time. That wasn't his only 4th down run of that game, but that was obviously the important one, where if you don't get it, that's the end of the game. And he's just so hard to get a hold of and so hard to contain, that the middle of the field on late drives, that's a place that I don't know what the defensive adjustment is for that, because you do have to be downfield so that it's not open for him to throw it, but you're just leaving that spot of 8 or 9 yards ahead of him. And once he gets that momentum, he's so shifty. It takes more than one guy. It just takes more than one guy to bring him down. I just thought that, man, that's just an incredible last drive from a guy that's supposed to be a rookie. I don't think you get to see maybe one of those in a rookie season. This is his 3rd.
So if you're hearing all this and you didn't actually see it, and you are a football enthusiast, I highly encourage you to go back and just try and find the highlight of the Commanders' final drive, because even that touchdown pass to Zacchaeus at the very end, with 6 seconds left to put him up, that was the dagger. Again, I mean, if you would tell me that the quarterback leading that drive is a rookie, I just would not believe you.
I wouldn't believe you. I wouldn't believe that, like you mentioned Zacchaeus, but he had such a huge second half in that game. I don't know what happened with Philly's defense. They couldn't stop him at all. They found a way to contain McLaurin, and then it was just Zacchaeus is just burning the hell out of your defense. I don't know what happened there, that's going to be something that they're going to probably want to go back and look at. They dominated everything in this game. Like you mentioned, the turnovers already, the time of possession. Philly had the ball for 36 minutes. Saquon Barkley had 150 yards on the ground, a couple of touchdowns. Like there's almost no version of this that if you told me what the Eagles did with or without Pickett, I would have told you the Eagles won that game. So, it's just so mind blowing to see this happen from a first year quarterback in the NFL.
Well, I can tell you, Keon, all of us Cardinals fans over here, we are very jealous about the play of your quarterback. We wish that our very own quarterback could do the same. And I had some concerns going into the Cardinals and the Panthers game. Did it seem like Arizona had the personnel and all the talent to be able to pull off a win at Carolina after the way that they had just beat the Patriots at home? Absolutely. But we have this weird curse, it seems like, in the month of December, where it doesn't even matter who the personnel is, doesn't matter who the coach is. This has just proved itself time and time again. The Cardinals cannot get victories in the month of December. And if you watch the Cardinals and the Panthers game yesterday, you were treated to a very frustrating performance from the Arizona Cardinals, where they were just struggling, it seemed like, the entire time. They were down 7-0 after the first quarter. They were down 20-17 at halftime. And then the Cardinals turn around. They only scored 13 points in the second half. It was good enough to force overtime, but Kyler Murray had just a blunder of an interception throw in overtime, gave Carolina the ball back. That led to them scoring, and that was the ball game. And your Arizona Cardinals are now knocked out of playoff contention. So, on the one hand, very frustrating way to end a season, particularly when like 3 to 4 weeks ago, we had like very legitimate playoff prospects. Now here we are. And it's unfortunately a very familiar place. The only thing I can really say that's encouraging for Cardinals fans is you got to keep in mind, we were not expected to do very much this year. The over-under on the regular season win expectation was 4.
Yeah, 4.5.
4.5
was the line for the Cardinals this season. So they already exceeded that. 7 and 8. I think on the schedule, when you looked at it, there were 10, maybe 11 winnable games. But the question was, were they going to win them all? And they just had a couple of those games slip away. This is obviously one, but it's not the only one this year where they had opportunities to win that game. And, just some mistakes from, and it's not just Kyler. Like, I don't want to make this seem like it's just Kyler. Like, some of these receivers are not getting open downfield. When you look at it, like, Kyler had a pretty good day throwing the football, but there was nothing downfield. And say whatever you want about Kyler Murray, if there's a guy open downfield, he's going to rip it, for better or for worse. But when you look at the receivers, like, nobody really separated, which didn't put a whole lot of pressure on the Panthers. And so they were able to basically kind of base coverage it all day. And that's, you hate to see that, because I don't know where you go from here as far as roster construction, except maybe you wave the white flag and go, maybe Kyler's not our guy.
And honestly, this is where it's frustrating, because you never feel like that decisive about Kyler. We saw some incredible play from him this season, and then we saw something at the complete opposite end of the spectrum. But I think you are onto something in that we need more capable receivers, more capable weapons for Kyler Murray to work with. I mean, how does a guy like Trey McBride, as talented as he is as a tight end, he's gone the full season without a single touchdown.
And I've got him in fantasy football, so I follow him quite a bit. It's not for the lack of big games. He's got big games, and even in those games, there's nothing happening in the red zone. And I just think that, at first, a couple of weeks ago, I think they were trying to manufacture it for him, but even in the flow of the offense, like, not even accidentally, that seems really odd in a year where tight ends started off slow and then a lot of them started figuring it out. We've seen really good weeks from Kelsey lately. We've seen good weeks from Mark Andrews lately. And those guys have been getting into the end zone. Trey McBride, I think, is playing at that exact same level, if not better. And it's so weird that it doesn't result in 7 for him. It really is.
And then that's where I say, the fact that we got 7 wins this year, it does feel like there's some momentum to build on. And that's
Yeah.
where you pause about, trying to pull out Kyler Murray and then plug and play someone different, because we did overachieve this season.
Yeah, but so the question is, did you overachieve despite the quarterback or because of him? And I think that that's where it makes it hard with Kyler. Is like you said, he has had great games. He's also had bad games, and they're 7-8, which makes this even tougher. If they were just out and out bad, then you could just pack it in. If they were better, then you could go, okay, Kyler's the guy that's leading them to wins. But it seems to be that the result is going to be a roughly 500 season, and that can't feel great.
Well, it's going to be on, Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon to, figure out what the answers to those questions are, because that's going to ultimately dictate the way that, the Cardinals are going to have to, try and build on what they have right now.
Yeah. And the only reason why I bring up the Kyler might not be your guy thing is because these are not the guys who drafted Kyler. They're not glued to him. They like him clearly, but they're not committed to him in the way that the old regime would have been, having paid him. So if they want to cut bait and move on, it's not the craziest idea, especially since the worst part of Kyler's deal was this year. So it's going to be on for them, it's going to be easier to just walk away from Kyler if, in fact, that's something they want to do.
I have a feeling that I already know what kind of feedback we're going to get on this, but curious to hear your thoughts, Fourth Dimension. What should the Cardinals do with Kyler Murray? Is he the problem? Do we need to get more receivers around him? Shoot us a text. Let us know, 888-368-1580. Keon, why don't we go ahead and get to the more exciting part of the Cardinals and Panthers matchup from last week? And we are going to reveal the winner of the Sport Trade win probability contest. So if you recall, for this game yesterday, the score at halftime, the Panthers were winning. They were up 20-17. They were at home. But interesting enough, and we've seen this before, the win probability was actually over 50%. Keon, do you want to go through the numbers?
Yeah. So let's go ahead and take a look, see at what we've got here. So the win probability, could you repeat that one more time, please?
So the win probability at halftime was 55% for the Cardinals.
Yeah. So at 55%, we had most of the guesses actually over that, which makes sense. The Panthers have been miserable all year. I think most people thought that the Cardinals were going to win this game, and they played half of a game good enough to win this game. If they did that for both halves, they would have won. So most of the guesses were, quite frankly, way over, ranging from Pickle D at 82.5% all the way on down to Megatron at 64%. But the closest guess under that, without going over, is Golden Domer at 47%. He is one of two people who guessed below 55.
Well, congratulations, Golden Domer. You are the winner of the $100 Amazon gift card and the $50 in cash sent directly to your Sport Trade account for you to play some extra wagers with. Please go ahead and send us a text. We need to know your full name and an email address to pass along to Sport Trade so they can get in contact with you and make sure you get those prizes. But congratulations again. And for anyone else that participated, we appreciate you sending in your guesses. And just know that you have not completely missed out. There's going to be another win probability contest for the Cardinals game this coming Sunday. So make sure you stick around. Alex Kane, the CEO of Sport Trade, will be back on the show this coming Friday to roll out next week's implied probability contest. And with that being said, Keon, I know we are getting up against a break here. There were a couple of other things we just wanted to shout out. We won't be able to get into all this stuff, but I think the absolute next important part of what happened over the weekend had to do with the college football playoff games. And if you happen to watch these, if you know how these all went down, then you're pretty familiar with the fact that all of the favorites dominated. They won, they covered their spreads. And what that means now is that your Arizona State Sun Devils are going to be matched up with Texas in the Peach Bowl, which is going to be on January 1st. And there's already a line out right now. ASU is currently a 13.5 point underdog If you pull this up on FanDuel, you'll see ASU to win on the money line is about plus 430. However, if you pull it up on Sporttrade, you're going to see ASU has a 16% win probability in the matchup, which equates to just over 5-1 payout. So you're getting the better odds on Sporttrade there. Keon, what are your initial reactions to where they set this line?
I think it's about what I expected them to do. There's a little bit of, a couple of the factors at play that ASU is the Cinderella story, so they're going to be overlooked, I think, by a decent amount. I also think that Texas is Texas. It's a brand name. Everybody knows Texas. They did something against Clemson that they haven't really done against a lot of quality teams this year, which is that they finally started moving the football and scoring. The defense did not have a great day, which is a good thing that the offense actually woke up for the Texas Longhorns. And I think that is going to obviously have, an effect on where people think they are and how they're going to perform, against ASU. So all of those factors, like two touchdowns, that's a bit big to me. I don't know that's how that's going to play out, but I expect that's where that's going to start if you count for the brand name and the Cinderella story and all of that other stuff involved. So yeah, that sounds about right.
I don't want to say that Texas is vulnerable, but if you saw the game against Clemson, it felt like there were times in that game where they seemed a little vulnerable. And where I'm getting at here, I don't want to, try and kind of hype everyone up for something, because my position on this is that we're probably going to lose to Texas. So will I personally have some bets on that money line, whether it's 4-1, 5-1? Yes, but that is an entertainment play. That is something that I am playing just to have some skin in the game on my team. That is not going to be one of the expertly beat the book-esque kind of picks. Now, what you could argue, which could be one of those kinds of picks, would be for ASU to cover a 13.5-point spread. I do agree with you where that does feel a little generous.
Yeah.
And something that is not being talked about as much right now, and this is something we'll probably have to get into on another day, but you look at all these teams that just won their games in the first round of the CFP. They were big favorites. They covered the spreads. Is that a factor of, well, the CFP didn't, bring in the most qualified, competitive teams? Or is it perhaps that, these teams that won are just a cut above that next tier of competition, and you gave these guys home field advantage, which looks like it was tremendously beneficial to have in this postseason round? I'm skewing kind of towards the latter of those two options there. So you take away the home from Texas, and maybe they're running a little bit tighter of a win margin.
Maybe. I mean, it's hard to go into Darrell K. Royal Stadium and win football games. It is a genuine home field advantage for the Horns. You take that away from them, maybe you've got something tougher. Now, I will point out in this game that while Texas defense didn't do everything that it normally does, they did hold Clemson to rushing 79 yards total. So the ASU is going to have to be the version of ASU that we've come to know all year and run the football better than Clemson did in that game. Otherwise, that's trouble.
Well, and we'll do a more thorough analysis on this game once the date gets a bit closer. There's still, information and news that's going to be coming in that's going to impact, our analysis on this. Whether or not Jordan Tyson is good enough to go, that's going to be a huge driver, of what ASU is going to potentially be able to do on the field in that game. So these are just kind of early thoughts for right now, but something that we will be revisiting down the line once, we get a little bit closer to that game.
Absolutely. So one last look at the text line. We've got Lost Toby, who's trying to lie to me and also is mad about his Niners. The mad about the Niners text simply reads, fire Shanahan. The trying to lie to me text is Lost Toby saying, didn't I have 54.69%? My brother in Christ, if you had that, you did not send it here. It's not on the text line. Okay. Don't try to scam me. Don't try to scam me, sir. We're not giving away Amazon gift cards for free. You got to win the contest, which means you should probably send in the thing. I don't believe for a damn second that that's what you did. So I'm just run that game somewhere else, friend. We'll see you on the other side. You're listening to Beat the Book right here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
It's fall football on the Fanatic. Catch all the live game play-by-play, Monday night, Thursday night, and Sunday day and night NFL games, plus the Saturday NCAA football game of the week. It's all right here on the Valley's home for football. 1580 and 99.3, The Fanatic. Brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.
At Diamond Dave's Desert Wholesale Diamond,
we offer incredible diamonds, both mined and cultivated, all at amazingly low prices.
check out these cultivated lab-grown diamond earrings.
2 carats total weight, collection color and lab grown, only $25.90.
And she'd love this amazing tennis bracelet in natural mined.
4 carats total weight in yellow or white gold, only $39.90.
And how about this diamond chain in cultivated?
12.5 carats total weight, collection color and lab grown, only $79.90.
And last but not least, especially this year, 1.5 carat floating diamond pendant.
Collection color and lab grown, only $9.90.
Call, email, or message us for an in-person appointment.
Or sit back and relax for free FedEx shipping anywhere in the USA.
Call Diamond Dave at 480-397-2450. That's 480-397-2450. Or follow him on Instagram at Diamond Dave Cantor. That's at Diamond Dave, Kantor.
You okay?
I can't sleep with this cough.
Sounds like you need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize.
Yeah, with NyQuil VapoCool. It's NyQuil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
So you ready to get some sleep? Thank you, NyQuil VapoCool.
NyQuil VapoCool, the vaporizing nighttime coughing, aching, fever, best sleep with a cold medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Dude, it's time to head to Grandma's for the holiday feast.
I mean, didn't you just smoke a bowl?
Yeah, but it's cool, man. Grandma won't notice.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Someone noticed, and it wasn't Grandma. If you think that others can't tell that you've been smoking marijuana and driving high, think again. Always remember, if you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI.
They're gonna go nuts when he hits this thing.
It went in. The People's Open is back. See the PGA Tour's best tee it up at the 2025 WM Phoenix Open February 3rd through the 9th at TPC Scottsdale. Get tournament and ticket info at WMPhoenixOpen.com. WMPhoenixOpen.com. It's the sound of the fight songs, the excitement of the rivalries. It's the unbelievable upsets. It's the Heisman hopefuls. It's the national rankings. College football is coming. Listen for it on 1580 and 99.3, The Fanatic.
I gotta explain something to Lost Toby real quick. So Lost Toby, I'm gonna take what you're saying here in good faith, that you're not trying to hustle me. He sent me a screenshot of a text he sent where he did in fact guess 54.69 for the Cardinals. This was not on Friday before this week's contest. That was 2 weeks ago. You did not guess 54.69 this week. I went back and found it.
That's so generous of you, Lost Toby.
It doesn't roll over. You don't get to guess on the 13th, and then it's your guess again on the 20th. You have to send in a new guess on the 20th.
Just the fact that he actually put it out there over 50% on the Cardinals. That's like, whoa.
Well, yeah, it's pretty generous. I honestly, and I don't remember who are they playing the week before. That was the Patriots week. So that maybe not, that's still not a lot of faith really, because everybody was guessing in the like 80s and 70s week.
He and I honestly felt like this was a great like winning strategy for that. Like he was just, consecutively going like 5%, which like, I mean, it's not going to happen every single time, but like you're bound to have one game where the Cardinals are just getting beat, absolutely mercilessly beat.
I think we had Roger Kudos win on another week where they were very high and he guessed very high. But yeah, no, Lost Toby, That first message you sent me, I went back in the text line and found when you sent that. You sent that on the 13th. You didn't send that this week. You didn't guess this week. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. You did not win this week's Cardinals win probability contest. That was Golden Domer. I don't have a guess for you. I literally write them down as they come in.
So there you go, Lost Toby. not getting that one by the goalie there. But let's jump over to our Phoenix Suns, because this is a big week within the NBA. We've got Christmas Day basketball coming up. That is this coming Wednesday. And for anyone that is familiar with Christmas Day in the NBA, it's kind of like the league's sort of like second debut of the season in kind of a weird way. But they've got some really compelling matchups set up for that. And there's no NBA games whatsoever on Tuesday. So what that means is tonight on Monday, you're getting like the full league playing, which there's actually a lot of very good betting opportunities. If you haven't already, make sure you check out the Beat the Book website. That is where we post our recommended bets for each day. You can get there by just searching in Google or whatever search engine you want, Beat the Book Fanatic, Beat the Book Dylan Cohen. Those things will pull it up. You can follow me on Instagram. The handle is at Beat the Book Fanatic, all spelled out. Just hit the link in the bio. That'll take you right to the site so you can see what the bets are. You can also visit 1580thefanatic.com. Click on the Beat the Book with Dylan Cohen logo. That'll take you right to the same place so you can see which bets we're recommending for the NBA tonight, for Monday Night Football. And just wanted to chat about the Suns for a little bit here. They played the Pistons last Friday. That game did not go the way we thought, even though Devin Booker did not play due to that groin injury. The Suns were not able to get the job done at home. They lost 133 to 125. And this is just a very concerning loss. This is going to be another one of those, if we barely, miss making it out of the play-in, by like one game, this is going to be one of the ones that, they're going to think back on.
There's the Orlando game where the Magic didn't have anybody healthy. That, like, at some point, like, it's starting to stack up the games that they're going to go back and kick themselves if they find themselves not in the postseason later, because they're insanely and supremely winnable basketball games.
So this is the kind of thing that just really makes you do some soul searching as a team. On the one hand, you don't want to beat yourself up too much because Devin Booker isn't there. But when you've got a team like the Detroit Pistons coming to town, you still have enough firepower between Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Grayson Allen played in that game. Royce O'Neal played in that game. We had more than enough to get the job done. And Kevin Durant, look, he has been doing as good of a job as he can on the offensive end. He has scored 37 and 43 points in his last two games, with Booker going down. But it's just not enough. And we need more of this team to step up. The decline of Yusuf Nurkic is just getting very, very frustrating to watch. Hopefully James Jones and the front office is just doing whatever they can to try and, see what he could potentially be turned into in the trade market. But with that being said, the Suns play the first of two matchups tonight against the Denver Nuggets. So the way that this is working out, we are playing in Denver tonight. And then on Christmas Day, Denver is coming back to Phoenix to play the second of that 2-game series. And this is kind of an interesting spot. I was doing a little bit of just kind of checking on Denver's players. Denver played last night, and the game actually went to overtime against the Sacramento Kings. You have Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray both playing over 40 minutes. Jamal Murray played 41 minutes. Jokic played 43 minutes. So they had to travel from I'm sorry. They were playing the Pelicans, not Sacramento. So they had to travel from New Orleans to Denver after an overtime game where their two stars played heavy minutes. And now they have to play again tonight against the Suns, who will be shorthanded. The Suns are not going to have Devin Booker. They're not going to have Grayson Allen. We're not going to have Bol. And, if you're the Nuggets, there's probably got to be a little bit of strategy here in how you are going to manage your roster, especially with how heavy your two best guys played last night, knowing that this Suns team that you're playing against is kind of in a tailspin right now. And as far as the NBA's priorities go, They want the stars playing on Christmas Day. Like, that is a huge, huge mandate from the league. Whether or not that's even acknowledged, just anyone with common sense knows that the NBA wants the best possible product they can put on the floor on Christmas Day. There's TV contracts tied into that. You know, if they're going to get away with potentially sitting guys or maybe playing them very, very light minutes, it's going to be in a game like tonight. So that's where up front, I was a little less confident in the Suns' ability to win this game just with how things have been going lately. But they just updated the injury report recently, and Jamal Murray, all of a sudden, he is questionable to play tonight with a right ankle sprain. So it seems like, you know, the floor is already being set to allow Denver to potentially hold Murray out of the game. I wouldn't even be shocked if potentially Jokic all of a sudden last minute, hey, you know, Jokic is ill, you know, or whatever reason they want to come up with to be able to justify holding him out. Now, I'm not saying those things are going to happen, and you shouldn't necessarily place a wager right now expecting that to happen. But at the current moment, assuming both Jokic and Murray are playing, assuming Kevin Durant's going to play, the Suns are a 4.5-point underdog in this matchup tonight on FanDuel. They're currently plus 156 on the money line. And this is going to be one to keep an eye on, I would say, for right now, because there's going to be more news coming out much closer to game time. If you have other means to research injuries out there, if you feel like you've got some news from a source that is really pointing towards Denver holding out Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, then I would expect this line to swing in favor of Phoenix. I don't think both of them are going to go out, but I think there's a great chance that at least one of them gets held out. And it seems like right now it's probably going to be Jamal Murray. So if you're getting the Denver Nuggets with no Jamal Murray, and now they're using Russell Westbrook as the primary, you know, head point guard, they haven't exactly had good results this season with these lineups that don't feature Murray.
Yeah, I mean, the most success they've had with Westbrook that I've seen is when Westbrook comes off the bench. When Westbrook is the starter, it has been ugly. Like the way he plays is just not. It's just not a fit for what this organization does and the way that they move the ball and the way everybody touches the basketball in a given possession. And then Russ still wants to put his head down and try and dunk on somebody.
Well, and then it's like you've got two guys in your starting five who are like, you know, kind of gunning for triple doubles, whether or not they're willing to admit it. And generally, you know, if there's a way you can seamlessly fit that into your game plan, then perhaps that works out for you. But, you know, especially when you've got a guy like, you know, Russ, who takes a lot of pride in where he stands on that all-time triple-double list. And you've got this guy on his team, Jokic, who has every ability and potential to surpass him on that list. You know, there's little kind of micro agendas almost coming into play.
Yeah, though I don't think Russell Westbrook cares enough about that, because he's always going to be the guy that did it the most in one season. He got that accolade's his for sure.
He got an MVP trophy.
And doing it as a guard. Oscar Robertson was the last guard we saw do that. That was basketball in black and white. So, you know, I don't know that necessarily factors in for Russell Westbrook so much as he's such a ball dominant player. I don't think he knows how to play giving up the basketball. Like when I watch Steph play, for instance, Steph is so good at giving up the basketball and then making life hell for anybody that has to stick with him when he's running through screens off ball. Russell Westbrook, if you watch him, he doesn't really move when he doesn't have the ball. He kind of parks himself in the corner over by the wing there, maybe corner three, and that's it. He's not moving again until he gets the ball. So like that's where I think that a lot of his struggles and Denver struggles with him tend to be.
So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we get starting Russell Westbrook tonight. That'll go a long way in terms of the Suns' ability to win the game. But one of the bets that I did post on the Beat the Book site was for Kevin Durant to score at least 30 points in this game. His line has moved up progressively throughout the day. It's currently at 31.5. He should honestly still be good to hit the over on the 31.5. He is averaging 40 points per game through his last 2 games now. So this version of the Suns where there's no Booker and it's Durant as the primary head scorer seems to equate to Durant getting 30 plus points pretty easily. And especially if Denver is missing Jokic and Murray tonight, would definitely open up the court a lot more for Durant to work with. But even with no Murray there and still Jokic, that levels the playing field a bit. and definitely helps the Suns, build more confidence about going into Denver and getting a win. So that is what I have to say about this Suns and Nuggets game. But we still have a Monday Night Football matchup that you can actually listen to here on 1580 The Fanatic. The live broadcast is going to start after the Daily Blender for today. And we are up against another break right now.
Well, let me clear up the text line real quick. Swazman saying, using the iPad that Sport Trade sent me, I won a lot of bets on Saturday and Friday. Notre Dame, like 10-1. I think it's going to be Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, and Notre Dame. And then he also says, Merry Christmas, you guys. Fun sports radio, all of you guys are putting out. So we appreciate that, Swazman. And then Lost Toby says, I thought I did guess this week. That's my bad. Just like the Niners, I can't get anything right. So, I'm sorry your Niners stick, man.
Cardinals too, Lost Toby. I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah. I'm really sorry about your Niners. But yeah, no, you've got to make sure you send that in every single week, or we don't really have anything that we can do to help you there, my friend. All right, on the other side, we're going to get to this Monday Night Football matchup. We'll get to that next. Beat the book right here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic. Live and local.
Now open in Scottsdale. It's United Forte Custom Door Showroom with 40,000 Euro doors and hundreds of state-of-the-art designs and finishes on display, plus kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities, and more, all at wholesale prices. Builders, contractors, designers, and yes, you. Come see our showroom on Greenway Hayden Loop. That's United Forte, P-O-R-T-E. Stop by to see and feel the quality. United Forte Custom Doors. Find us at uporte.com. That's uporte.com.
Hey guys, Jeffrey O'Brien here. Did you know Harman Solar has gone super high tech? There's an amazing tool at harmansolar.com that'll give you an instant ballpark solar estimate using satellites from space. You just type in a little information, and within seconds, you'll have an idea of just how little money it takes to save big on that monthly electric bill. I did it, and within seconds, they measured my roof and calculated my savings. It's very impressive. Go to harmansolar.com and give it a try yourself. That's harmansolar.com.
My pain is considerable, but that prescription is dangerous.
The side effects of my medicine are worse than my condition.
I'm in recovery. I can't take those pills.
When faced with a health crisis, you shouldn't have to choose between risks.
At the Naturopathic Physicians Group in Scottsdale, our medical doctors are experts in full spectrum care using a natural approach. Patients come in for a variety of issues, including joint pain, chronic conditions, and issues specific to men's and women's health. Our naturopathic doctors can restore pain-free joint function and restore balance in immune, digestive, and hormone systems, which often improves immediate physical symptoms without having you take a bunch of pills. If traditional medicines aren't working, don't you think it's time to start feeling like yourself again? Call Naturopathic Physicians Group at 480-451-6161. That's 480-451-6161. Or go to naturopathicgroup.com.
Looking for a gift for your kids or loved ones? Consider getting them something that they'll use for the rest of their lives. An education. Open an AZ 529 education savings plan today. Contribute just $50 a month, and they'll have nearly $20,000 by graduation. Plus, your money grows tax-free and can be used for college, vocational school, or workforce training. An AZ 529 account will help them unwrap their full potential. Learn more at az529.gov.
This message is sponsored by the Office of the Arizona State Treasurer.
Let's say you've got questions. You're looking into solar, but you don't know where to start. Well, Harman Solar has the answers. Hi, I'm Jeffrey O'Brien, and listen, there's a couple of ways you can go here. One, visit harmansolar.com, browse around, because right across the page, they got links to all sorts of great information, like frequently asked questions, equipment, tax credits, even testimonials. Or just give them a call, 800-281-3189. Ask them directly. They'd love to hear from you. That's 800-281-3189. Or just go to harmansolar.com.
1580 The Fanatic and at 1580thefanatic.com. Your home for sports.
Tonight, you got Packers, you've got Saints. Look, we said there was Monday Night Football. We didn't promise it was good. And so tonight we've got a matchup between a playoff team and a team that is so far removed from the playoffs, it's borderline depressing in a division that's not particularly great. So, Dylan, what are we actually looking forward to in this game as far as betting goes? Because the betting is what's going to keep you watching this game. I can't think of any other reason to watch what is going to be a stinker, in my opinion.
Well, right now I'm taking a look at the weather report because this is just one of those games where the weather is going to greatly dictate the result. And right now at Lambeau Field in Wisconsin, it's cloudy, it's cold. It was snowing earlier today. It's currently stopped a bit, but it looks like there's a good chance that it's going to continue to snow a little bit later tonight, starting at around 5 o'clock Wisconsin time, going into 6 o'clock, could be going beyond that. And this game is set to kick off. I think it's going to be a little bit after 7 o'clock Wisconsin time. So hopefully that snow just picks up and continues. But this is important because you look at the Saints team that's, hobbling into this matchup, very, very injured, banged up group. Alvin Kamara not going to be available to play. He's hurt. We know Derek Carr isn't going to be playing. He's hurt. So the Saints are led by Spencer Rattler, who, has filled in for them at times. It's not his very first NFL start. However, Spencer Rattler is a native of Phoenix, Arizona. I am also a native of Phoenix, Arizona. And anyone that's a native generally of this state here in the desert, we don't do so well in the cold. And as far as cold weather goes, I mean, it gets much worse than, 32 degrees and snowing. But, if that's the kind of environment that Spencer Rattler is going to be playing in tonight, I don't like his chances. And then ESPN put out some reporting earlier this week that the Saints were looking to get a little creative in how they were going to be preparing Spencer Rattler for this game, because let's face it, this is going to be his first time, at least within the NFL, throwing the football in the elements. If you go back and you look at the other 4 games that he's played in this year, he's been in a dome every single time, whether the game was in New Orleans or he had one game on the road where he played at SoFi Stadium. He has been fortunate enough to not have to deal with a frozen tundra game, and looks like we're getting the frozen tundra game tonight. So what does that mean for the production of the Saints? On offense, you're probably not going to get a whole lot of it. So as far as the betting goes and the angles that you want to craft in how you're going to place your bets, this is a tremendous spot to look to take the under on Spencer Rattler's passing yards, which surprisingly, this line has actually gone up from the last time that I saw it. So it was sitting around 180.5 over under for most of the day. Right now on FanDuel, it's currently over under 185.5. So you're getting a little bit of extra yardage there compared to where I recommended taking the under, but I would definitely consider playing the under at 185.5 passing yards for Spencer Rattler. And if Spencer Rattler's not getting much on the passing yards, that means his receivers are not getting much on the receiving yards. So, you look at who you may want to potentially play an under for on receiving. The first guy that comes up for the Saints is Marquez Valdes-Scantling. That is someone that had some success as a Green Bay Packer in his career. It's not his first game at Lambeau Field. I don't feel very inclined to take his under. But then you start going down the rest of the roster, and it's pretty wide open. Whether you want to take the under on Juwan Johnson at 30.5 receiving yards. I put up Foster Moreau on the Beat the Book page. His over-under has been going down throughout the day. It was at 25.5 before. It's currently at 23.5. Kevin Austin Jr. is another one to consider. He's currently sitting right at where Foster Moreau is. But I would look to take unders on Saints offensive production. And then if you're thinking about an over-under on the total, an under might be appropriate, but the Packers are used to playing in this kind of environment. They could be very, very productive, especially going up against just a banged up Saints team, whether you're looking at the offense or the defense. So the one thing that I would just strongly urge some caution with, don't get too crazy on the Josh Jacobs props. And I say that because, on the one hand, Josh Jacobs on paper, he has just been phenomenal. Like over his last 5 games, he has an absurd amount of touchdowns. He has been very consistently getting over 100 rushing yards. And that might be the kind of performance that we get from him tonight. I'm not saying that you're not going to see that, but with the colder weather comes an increased risk for injuries, particularly soft tissue injuries. And this could also be a game where the Packers just put the Saints away so early that you may not end up actually seeing Josh Jacobs play for a decent amount of time. Perhaps he only plays 3 quarters and the game's so out of hand by the 4th, you just don't see him. So there are times where you can get burned betting on guys to be extremely productive only for an injury to, derail it, or just the game to get so out of hand to derail it. And I have very strong concerns about those things impacting Josh Jacobs' production. Now, if you want to think about him getting a touchdown or even 2 touchdowns, I completely endorse that. I even have him for 2 touchdowns in the long shot parlay. But if you're going to be constructing bets, based on the Saints going under, then that's fine. But keep that stuff separate from Josh Jacobs and his production, because the absolute worst thing in the world would be to, nail Spencer Rattler under on passing yards, get all these receivers unders on passing yards, and then you take a Josh Jacobs over and you throw that on there. And then all of a sudden, Josh pulls a hammy in the second quarter because he's like running through snow and it's an aggressively cold game, or maybe they just don't need him that much because Jordan Love has the passing game working so fluidly that, I mean, you could just find yourself in a scenario where you end up getting burned. That's my only concern.
Yeah, even though I would say that in cold weather games, teams do tend to run the football a bit more as well. So it could go either way. I do tend to agree with you that because of what the Packers are, which is a playoff team in an incredibly tight division in the NFC. The NFC is the deeper of the 2 conferences. You might want to stay healthy and try to avoid, if you can, the fate that the Detroit Lions have, which is that they're a great team. They're just racked with injuries. And so we're not sure whether or not a team that looks like they should be a Super Bowl team on paper can actually get there. I think the Packers would like to try and avoid that same fate. So maybe it's just that's the thing. It's a scary bet if you decide to ride with Josh Jacobs. I don't know that you're crazy for doing it, but that's the risk that you're running, that he's either held out to prevent injury or he gets injured.
Well, and that's honestly a great point that you brought up with the Lions, because everyone's got their eyes on that right now. There is no other team that is more, banged up and injury plagued than the Lions. And if you're the Packers, I mean, all of those injuries create an opportunity for you. But if Josh Jacobs goes down, I mean, your prospects as a team for what you're going to be able to achieve in the postseason, I mean, they just get completely dimmed. So there's got to be some protection over Josh Jacobs and, how much you ultimately choose to utilize him in this game. It's not that he's not going to play. He's absolutely going to play. But once the Packers have this game, in hand, I don't know where they're going to necessarily draw that line, if it's a 3-score margin or potentially a 4-score margin. But wherever that line is, once it's passed, I mean, you're not going to see Jordan Love continue to play. You're not going to continue to see Josh Jacobs in there. They're going to start to protect their important guys, because next week, if you're the Packers, you have a huge showdown against the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, that's almost a playoff game in itself.
And Matt LaFleur is not Dan Campbell. There is no biting kneecaps. If we can get out of a game alive, we'll get out of a game alive. Where the Lions, part of what their culture is that they are going to play until the very final whistle. And that includes, even if that might be a little detrimental to them, and it already has cost them.
So that being said, take unders on Saints player props, and you can go ahead and lay a bet on the Packers to cover the spread, whether that's 13.5, 14.5. I think they're going to be good all the way up to 19.5. I think you're going to see a 20-point blowout tonight. That's all I got.
And that is going to do it for us. So we appreciate everybody that was on the text line. Did not hear from Golden Domer today, so we'll probably have to reach out to him at some point this week and make sure that he gets all of his information to us for his prize. Once again, make sure that you check out Beat the Book and all the places that you can find all of those picks. If you missed the show earlier today, might I recommend the Beat the Book post for today on 1580thefanatic.com. Just click on that logo and you'll have your opportunity to get to the Beat the Book page. Also, follow Dylan on Instagram at Beat the Book Fanatic and the 6 Point Play podcast. Check that out in the morning to get your jump start on a lot of this. The Daily Blender is coming up next. 1580 The Fanatic.
I'm Chris Rose.